Yeah. Sukhiyanto, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. I think the last time we stopped at stanza 8.
Buddhanusati Metta asubang maranasati iti ima caturaraka beku bawe yasilawang annata vittara gunanto nusara muding bawe ya mutima beku Buddhanusati matito sawasane kileseso ego sabe nikadiya ahu susuda santano pujananja sadaraho sabbagala gate dhamme sabe sama sayang muding Sabakarena bujitwa eko sabang nutanggato vipassana divijahi sila di carane hija susamidehi sampanno gagana behinayako Sammagato subattanang amoka wacano jaso dividasa pilokasa nyata nirawase sato annekehi gunogehi sabasatu tamo ahu annekehi upayehi Naradamme dhamme sicca eko sabba salokasa sabasata nusasako bhagya isariyadinang gunanang paramoditi.
Okay, so we'll stop here. The last class we stopped here. We have explained the words, the individual words. So now we go into the Dhamma. 8, yeah. Eko sabasa lokasa sabba satanu sasako bhagya isariya dinang gunanang paramonidi. So the Buddha is a unique. Eko, one means unique and great teacher to all beings in the entire world. Sabasa lokasa, entire world. He is a hidden treasure, noblest among the fortunate and the prosperous. So this stanza 8 repeats the Buddha's attribute of Sakta Deva Manusanang, teacher of gods and men, or teachers of devas and humans. After hearing his teaching, most people are willing to give up their attachments to sensual pleasures, which causes moral decline. And instead, they will find encouragement to walk the path until the final goal of Nibbana is reached. The Buddha taught humans, there is devas and brahmas, whose kusala vipaka that is ready to ripen for awakening. Thus, the Buddha is Sakta Deva Manusanang, teachers of gods and men. Let us now see how the Buddha guided Kisa Kotami to become a stream enterer, Sotapanna, and Putikata Tisa Bhikkhu to become an Arahant. Now, most of you have heard these two accounts before. Kisa Kotami went into self-denial. She could not accept that her son is dead. She searched everywhere for medicine to revive her son. At last, a wise man suggested to her to see the Buddha. The Buddha told her, if you can get a handful of mustard seeds from a home where there has been no death, I will make your son alive again. She was so happy and overjoyed to hear this from the Buddha. Now, although mustard seeds were a common ordinary spice used in cooking, she could not even find one home in which no one has died. Kisar Kotami finally realized that death was something that everyone encounters. As a human, one must experience death, and there was no exceptions for her son. She then buried her son and went back to see the Buddha. The Buddha then spoke the following verse to her. When a person's mind is deeply attached, infatuated with sons and cattle, death grabs him and carries him away, as a flood does a sleeping village. Dhammapada 287. Okay, so when our mind is deeply attached and infatuated with our family, with our sons and cattle, cattle here refers to your wealth. Okay, those days they measure how wealthy or how rich you are by the number of cattle that you own. Okay, so if your mind is so deeply attached, death will grab you away and carry away, just like the whole village is sleeping and the flood just sweep everyone away. On hearing this one verse, insight into things as they really are arose in her, and she became a Sotapanna, a stream enterer. Thus, the Buddha guided Kisar Kotami out of a sorrow is truly amazing and skillful. Next, we observe how the Buddha liberates Tisa Tero. Bhikkhu Bhuttikata Tisa was seriously ill with boils all over his body that grew bigger and bigger until they burst and oozed out. And the pus oozed out. That morning, the Buddha observed with the divine eye that Tisa had the potential to attain arahantship. But in his current condition, he was like a piece of gold in mud. The gold could not shine at all. So the Buddha thought, all of Tisa's brother monks cannot bear it anymore, and they have all left him. I am the only one who can help him. But before curing his mental suffering, I have first to cure him of his physical suffering. The Buddha personally, with his own hands, bathed Tisa, dried his body, cleansed his sores, and helped him to put on clean robes. The Buddha had no feelings of disgust towards the pus, nor the rotten smell coming from Tisa's body. The Buddha knew that if Tisa's body was clean, his mind would be relieved and happy, and that would be an appropriate moment to listen to the Dhamma. Thereafter, the Blessed One expounded the Dhamma that was suitable to Tisa's temperament. Dhammapada 41. All too soon, this body will lie on the earth, cast aside, lifeless, like a useless log. After hearing this teaching by the Buddha, Tisa became an arahant. So you can see MARANASATI, the importance of it, and the reflection on death could even lead one to become an arahant. Buddha also used this opportunity to teach his disciples, i.e. the monastic, to care for each other especially those who are sick. The Buddha said, monks, you have no mother, you have no father, because you have gone forth, right? Who can tend to you? If you do not tend to one another, who then will tend to you? Whoever who tend to me should tend to the sick. Sakta Deva Manusana, teachers of gods and men. So these are two examples of how the Buddha guided Kisa Kotami and Buddhikata Tisa on attaining enlightenment. So, teacher of gods and men, what actually did the Buddha taught? And all of us knew, Dhammapada 183, Sabha Papasa Akaranang, Kusalasa Upasangpada, Secita Pariyoda Panang, Itang Buddhana Sasanang. Not to do any evil, to cultivate good, to purify the mind. This is the teaching of the Buddhas. Sabha Papasa Akaranang, not to do evil, so that one will not be reborn in the four apaya, or four awful states of Niraya, hell, Petayoni, realm of ghosts, Tirajana Yoni, realm of animals, Asura Yoni, realm of titans. So do you know the 10 wholesome deeds or Dasa Kusala Kama? First, the wholesome, we have 3 Kaya Kusala Kama, meaning wholesome deeds done through the door of the body. And this refers to the first 3 precepts. Abstinence from killing, abstinence from stealing, abstinence from sexual misconduct. And we have 4 Vachi Kusala Kama, wholesome deeds done through the door of speech. Abstinence from telling lies, Musavada Veramani, abstinence from slandering, Pisuna Vacha Veramani, abstinence from abusive of harsh words, Parusa Vacha Veramani, abstinence from idle or frivolous talk, Sampa Palapa Veramani. And we have 3 Mano Kusala Kama, there's wholesome deeds done through the mind door. The one, we have abstinence from covetousness, there's desire to have the others, the belongings belonging to others, Abhijja Veramani, abstinence from evil, Yabada Veramani, abstinence from holding wrong views, Micha Ditti Veramani. The Buddha, out of compassion, untiringly exhorted us not to do evil, that is, to refrain from the 10 akusala or unwholesome deeds. By refraining from these 10 unwholesome deeds, we can be free from self-blame and societal blame. We can thus live happily without remorse. The Buddha said, when faced with death, they do not grieve, nor are they tormented, nor are they confused. What awakes them is a blissful destination, a blissful rebirth. Okay, so just like when we have observed these 10 wholesome deeds, these 10 abstinence, so at the time of death, we should be like looking forward towards a holiday vacation, because we believe that by observing or performing these 10 wholesome deeds, we will not be reborn in the 4 woeful states. Next, besides the Buddha taught us not to do evil, the Buddha taught us to cultivate good. Kusalasa Upasampada means to perform Dasa Panya Kiriya Watu, 10 bases of meritorious deeds. Now this Kusala Upasampada leads to good rebirth. One will be reborn with long life, good health, comfort, and wealth. Ayu, Wana, Sukha, Bala. To be able to comprehend Tilakana, the three characteristics of Anicca, Dukkha, and Anatta, and pursue Nibbana with ease. What are the 10 bases of meritorious deeds? Dana, giving; Sila, morality; Bhavana, mental cultivation; Chayana, reference or respect; Veya Vacha, service; Patidana, transfer of merits; Patadumodana, rejoicing in others' merits; Dhamma Savana, hearing the Dhamma; Dhamma Desana, preaching the Dhamma; Diktiju Karma, straightening out one's views. The 10 meritorious deeds, Dasa Punya Kiriya, gladden the heart of the doer and ensure peace in society. When such good people fall sick with a serious illness, they neither grieve nor grow delirious, meaning their mind will not be disturbed by being restless, illusions, and incoherent. Such people are not afraid of death because they know they will be reborn in a favorable destination where they could continue to learn, practice, and realize the Buddha Dhamma until the cessation of dukkha. Ankutara 4.184. There is the case of the person who has done what is good, has done what is skillful, has given protection to those in fear, and has not done what is evil, savage, or cruel. Then he comes down with a serious disease. As he comes down with a serious disease, the thought occurs to him, I have done what is good. I have done what is skillful and have given protection to those in fear. And I have not done what is evil, savage, or cruel, to the extent that there is a destination for those who have done what is good, what is skillful, have given protection to those in fear, and have not done what is evil, savage, or cruel. That is where I am heading for after my death. Unquote. He does not grieve and is not tormented, does not weep, does not beat his breast or grow delirious. This too is a person who, subject to death, is not afraid of death. Anguttara Nikaya 4.184. So a quick review, stanza 8, the Buddha is a unique and great teacher to all beings in the entire world. He is a hidden treasure, noblest among the fortunate and the prosperous. This stanza depicts the attribute Satta Deva Manusanang, teachers of gods and men. So what the teacher taught? Dhammapada 183, not to do any evil, refers to the 10 wholesome deeds or the 10 viramani or 10 abstinence, so that one will not be reborn in the 4 apaya or 4 woeful planes. The Buddha understood the suffering of all beings, especially the beings in apayas, where the suffering seemed endless. Once reborn in apaya, the opportunity to become free from these woeful states and attain rebirth in a fortunate state is extremely rare. The Buddha is illustrated with a simile in which he compared the amount of soil under his fingernail to the relatively small number of beings in fortunate destination. against the amount of soil in the entire earth to the number of beings in the 4 woeful planes. In addition, there is no chance to make good karma in the woeful planes. To cultivate good refers to the 10 meritorious deeds which lead to fortunate rebirths with long life, good health, comfort, and wealth. Ayu wana sukang bala. That is, with the right causes and conditions to pursue nibbana with ease. Lastly, above all, to purify the mind through samatha and vipassana bhavana, so as to attain the 4 stages of sainthood or state of deathlessness. The Buddha taught various meditation subjects to suit different temperaments or charita of beings. To help people with a lustful temperament to develop detachment towards their own body and the bodies of others, the Buddha taught contemplation of the stages of decomposition of a corpse, or the impurity of the 32 parts of the body. Example is how the Buddha redirected a young monk who was lovesick for courtesan Sirima. Okay, courtesan Sirima is a very famous prostitute. Okay, but when she died, the Buddha asked to leave the body there until the body is rot and nobody wants to claim the body. Buddha taught those with a hateful temperament to contemplate on the 4 Brahma Viharas: Metta, Karuna, Mudita, and Upekkha. Anapanasati and mindfulness of breath is suitable for those with deluded and discursive temperament. For those with a faithful temperament, should recollect the qualities of the triple gem. For those with intelligent temperament, the most suitable is contemplation of the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and wind. This is how the Buddha taught Bhikkhu Pakusati in Majjhima Nikaya 140. When the mind is concentrated, ekagata, one-pointedness, it can clearly see the nature of the aggregates or the characteristic of mind and body, i.e. Vipassana Bhavana. Samyutta Nikaya 22.5, Samadhi Sutta. Bhikkhus develop concentration. A bhikkhu who is concentrated understands things as they really are. And what is the meaning of seeing things as they really are? It is seeing the origin and passing away of the 5 aggregates: anicca, dukkha, anatta, understanding the 12 links of dependent origination, paticca samuppada. So, teacher of gods and men, the Buddha taught in Dhammapada 183, avoid evil, cultivate good, purify the mind. The Buddha also guided the Devas. The Buddha taught Abhidhamma to the Devas in Tawatimsa heaven in his 7 rains retreat. Note, Theravada Buddhism maintains that the Abhidhamma Pitaka is the authentic word of the Buddha, and that its scriptures are contained in the Tipitaka, i.e. in the 3 baskets, and not 2 baskets. Celestial beings usually come to the Buddha in the middle of the night. Example, in Deva Bhutta Samyutta, a Deva named Subrahma came to seek guidance from the Buddha on how to practice. In Maha Mangala Sutta, Sutta Nipata 2.4, the Buddha explained to the Deva the highest blessings. In the first discourse, Dhammacakka Pavatana Sutta, many Devas from different realms came to listen and attained path and fruition. in the first discourse. The Buddha taught with an open hand to all beings, gods and men. Dika Nikaya 16, there is nothing unlander with regard to the teachings that the Tathagata holds with the close fist of a teacher who keeps some things back. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So now we go on to stanza 9.
Panyasa sabadammesu karuna sabajantusu attattanang parattanang sadika gunajetika.
Okay, so the word panyasa means towards wisdom or referring to the Buddha's wisdom. Sabha Dhammesu means all dhammas, means pervasive. Panyasa Sabha Dhammesu, referring to the Buddha's wisdom, is directed towards all dhammas. That means the Buddha's wisdom is pervasive. Karuna means compassion. Jantu means creature or living being. Karuna Sabha Jantusu means, and his compassion extends to all beings. Sabha Jantusu means to all beings. Panyasa Sabha Dhammesu, Karuna Sabha Jantusu. The Buddha's wisdom is directed towards all being, all dhammas, means it's pervasive, and compassion extends to all beings. Next slide. Atta means soul or oneself. Atta means welfare. Atta tanang means welfare to himself. Para means others. Parattanang, welfare to others. Sadika, having something in excess. Guna, virtue or qualities. Sadika gunanang, excess qualities in all. Sadika guna, excess qualities, or in all qualities. Sadika gunanang. Atanang paratanang, he is a benefactor to himself and others. Sadika guna jetika, supreme in all qualities and virtues. Next slide. So, Panyasa Sabha Dhammesu, Karuna Sabha Jantusu, Atatanang Paratanang, Sadika Guna Jetika. The Buddha's wisdom is directed towards all beings, is pervasive, and his compassion extends to all beings. He is a benefactor to himself and others. He is a supreme in all qualities. This stanza depicts the attribute of Buddha. Okay, Buddhi means awakened. So Buddha means the awakened one. In Majjhima Nikaya 92, the Buddha said, what must be known is directly known. What must be abundant has been abundant. What must be realized has been realized. What must be developed has been developed. Therefore, Brahmin, I am a Buddha. So Buddha here means Buddha. Buddha means the awakened one. So who is the awakened one? It means what must be known is directly known. Refers to the first noble truth of suffering. What must be abundant has been abundant. Refers to the second noble truth of the origin of suffering, Tanha. What must be realized has been realized. Refers to the third noble truth of the sensation of suffering, Nibbana. What must be developed has been developed. Refers to the fourth noble truth of the path leading to the sensation of dukkha, meaning the noble eightfold path. So the meaning of Buddha here means awakened one, Buddha. The meaning of Buddha meaning in Nikaya 92, when the Brahmin asked the Buddha, who are you? Are you a god? Are you a deva? You know, so the Buddha explained, what must be known is directly known. What has been abundant has been abundant. What must be realized has been realized. And what must be developed has been developed. Referring to the Four Noble Truths. That is the quality of Buddha. In the great discourse on establishing mindfulness, Mahasatipatthana Sutta, Dika Nikaya 22, the Buddha explained the Four Noble Truths. Now, what is the Noble Truth of suffering? If we refer to the chanting in Paticca Samuppada, okay, and the last part, Bhava Pacaya Jati, becoming conditions birth. Jati Pacaya Jara Maranang Soka Paridewa Dukkha Domana Supayasa Sambhavanti. Birth, conditions, old age, death, grief, lamentation, pain, depression, and despair. Eva metasa kevalasa dukkha kandasa samudaya hoti. Thus, the entire mass of suffering. So, what is the noble truth of suffering? Birth is suffering. Aging is suffering. Death is suffering. Grief is suffering. Lamentation is suffering. Pain is dukkha. Sorrow is dukkha. Despair is dukkha. Association with the dislike is dukkha. Separation from the light is dukkha. Not to get what one longs for is dukkha. In brief, the five aggregates of clinging are suffering. So, the Buddha continued, because what is birth? Whatever beings in whatever groups of beings here, there is birth, existence, emergence, appearance of aggregates, and of obtaining of sense spheres. Thus, bhikkhus is called birth. Bhikkhus, what is aging? Whatever beings in whatever group of beings, there is aging, decrepitude, broken teeth, gray hair, wrinkled skin, decline of lifespan, weakening of the sense faculties, hard of hearing, your eyesight becoming blurred. Thus, bhikkhus, this is called aging. Bhikkhus, what is death? Whatever beings, in whatever group of beings, there is death, passing away, breaking up, disappearance, dying, breaking up of the aggregates, casting off of the body, destruction of the life faculty. This, bhikkhus, is called death. Bhikkhus, what is grief? For one who has, bhikkhus, some sort of misfortune or other, who is touched by some sort of painful thing or another, there is grief, grieving, the state of grieving, inner grief, great inner grief. This, bhikkhus, is called grief. Bhikkhus, what is lamentation? For one who has, bhikkhus, some sort of misfortune or other, who is touched by some sort of painful thing or another, there are laments, great laments, lamenting, great lamenting, the state of lamenting, the state of great lamentation. This, bhikkhus, is called lamentation. Bhikkhus, what is dukkha? Pain. Any physical pain, physical disagreeableness, painful and disagreeable feelings, cause of contact with the body, this, bhikkhus, is called pain. Bhikkhus, what is sorrow? Any mental pain, mental disagreeableness, painful and disagreeable feelings, cause of contact with the mind, this, bhikkhus, is called sorrow. Bhikkhus, what is despair? For one who has, bhikkhus, some sort of misfortune who is touched by some sort of painful thing or another, there is desponding, despairing, the state of despondency, the state of despair. This bhikkhus is called despair. Bhikkhus, what is suffering of association with the dislike? Here, for that one who has unwanted, unlovely, unpleasant forms, sounds, smell, taste, tangibles, and thoughts, or for that one who meets contact, has connection, and has interaction with those who have ill will, who wish one's harm, who wish one's discomfort, and who wish one's insecurity. This bhikkhus is called suffering of association with the dislike. And the Buddha continued with what is suffering of separation from the light, suffering of not getting what one wished for. Thus, what are the 5 aggregates of clinging which are suffering? They are form, feeling, perception, formation, and consciousness. In brief, the 5 aggregates of clinging are suffering. This is the noble truth of suffering. So the Buddha gave simile for the 5 aggregates. For material form aggregates, okay, the Buddha compared the materiality aggregate to foam, which indicates, foam, the foam from soap, indicates that it's empty, is void, is without essence. Okay, so the Buddha told, Bhikkhus, suppose that this river Ganges was carrying along a great lump of foam. A man with good sight will inspect it, ponder it, and carefully investigate it, and it will appear to him to be void, hollow, and insubstantial. For what substance could there be in the lump of foam? So too, bhikkhus, whatever kind of material form there is, whether past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far and near, a bhikkhu inspects it, ponders it, and carefully investigates it, and it will appear to him to be void, hollow, and insubstantial. For what substance could there be in the foam? So you compare the bacteria or rupa to a foam. And the Buddha compared the Vedana Ganda or the feeling aggregate, okay, to a water bubble. Okay, so a water bubble, because it's fragile, and the moment it arises, it immediately ceases. It is empty, without essence, just like your feelings come and go. And the Buddha continued to use the simile, compare the perception aggregate, Sanya Kanda. He compared the Sanya Kanda to a mirage. Okay, mirage in a desert, because it is tricky, it's empty, is void, and without essence. And the Buddha compared mental formation aggregate, Sankara Kanda, to the trunk of a plantain tree, the trunk of a banana tree. The trunk is composed of layers of peel, and each layer has its own characteristic. So the mental formation aggregate is also formed by various mental states, and each mental state has its own unique characteristic and function. But all these are also empty, just and without essence, and is void, just like the trunk of a banana tree. And the Buddha continued to use the simile for consciousness aggregate. He compares the consciousness aggregate to a magician. By means of magic tricks, create various kinds of illusion to deceive spectators. In the same way, we are fooled by our own consciousness, considering the consciousness that sees and hears to be the same self that wanders through the cycle of samsara. So you can see that the 5 aggregates of clinging is dukkha. And this dukkha must be fully understood. And check it out in Samyutta Nikaya 56.11. The Buddha thoroughly understand what is dukkha. The noble truth of the origin of suffering, the second noble truth. When the Buddha attained supreme enlightenment, the Buddha said to himself, "Through many a birth in samsara have I wandered in vain, seeking the builder of this house. Repeated birth is indeed suffering. O house builder, you are seen. You will not build this house again, for your rafters are broken and your ridge pole shattered. My mind has reached the unconditioned. I have attained this destruction of grieving." Dhammapada 153 to 154. So who is this house builder? Who is the builder of this house? This house refers to this body. It's tanha, craving. That is the origin of suffering. Okay? And they are actually, they categorize craving into three, which is the most serious one is the kama tanha, which is the craving for sensual pleasures. And the other two, one is craving for becoming, bhava tanha. That means we want to live forever. We don't want to die. Okay? And of course, craving for non-becoming, meaning that we want to crave that, when we die, that's it. That's the end of the story. So this is a very dangerous view, okay, where we will have no morality at all. And the third noble truth of the suffering, nirodha satcha, which is the end, the sensation of suffering, is nibbana. And it should be realized. What should be realized is I have realized. So the Buddha has realized nibbana. And the Buddha said that, how can we abandon craving? That means abandon tanha and realize the sensation of suffering. The answer the Buddha gave to us is walk the Noble Eightfold Path. That is the fourth noble truth of suffering. The path leading to the sensation of the Noble Eightfold Path of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. Okay, and in the Noble Eightfold Path also sometimes they divide into threefold: sila, samadhi, and panya. So this is what Buddha means. Okay, so sometimes we chant Buddha, 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 Buddha. We understand Buddha means the awakened one, awakened to the Four Noble Truths. Okay.
Dayaya parami citwa panyaya tanamutari uttari sappadammeja dayaya neja utari.
So daya here means sympathy, kindness, or compassion. Parami is perfections. Chitwa means having the thought of. Panya is wisdom. Atta is oneself. Udari means raised, lifted, uprooted, elevated. Dayaya parami chitwa panya yatana budari. Out of compassion, the Buddha elevated himself by the perfection of wisdom. Anya or anye, others, another, or else. Udari sabha damecha daya yanye cha udari. By preaching or lifted the doctrine in all its aspects and elevated others through its compassion. Out of compassion, the Buddha elevated himself by the perfection of wisdom, by preaching the doctrine in all aspects and elevated others through its compassion. Correct. Right? Out of compassion, the Buddha elevated himself by the perfection of wisdom, by preaching the doctrine in all aspects, and elevated others through his compassion. So this stanza depicts the attribute of Bhagawa, the Blessed One. Okay, he elevated himself, perfection of wisdom, preaching doctrine in all aspects, and elevated others through his compassion. So the Buddha is often called the Blessed One. Bhagawa is a kind of respect and veneration accorded to him as the highest of all beings, and because of his special qualities. The Buddha realized omniscient knowledge which brought blessings and benefit to all beings. Thus, he is the Blessed One. Now, what blessings does the Buddha have? The Buddha is blessed with many auspicious qualities. Why? Because he has uprooted all mental defilements. He has crossed the ocean of samsara, landed on the shore of liberation, nibbana. He has made an end of any kind of becoming. He has developed fully virtue, concentration, and wisdom, meaning he has developed the Noble Eightfold Path. And he has obtained mundane and supramundane bliss. That is why it is called Bhagawa, the Blessed One. Because the Buddha is blessed with all these auspicious qualities, we lay people can rely upon him. And because he is blessed with the quality of destroying evil, right? So the truth seekers can rely on him. By taking refuge in the Buddha and following his teachings, beings are protected and free from fear. And there's always the possibility of obtaining mundane and supramundane bliss. The Buddha is called the Blessed One because he's skillful in analyzing and classifying dhammas into wholesome or unwholesome. 5 aggregates, 6 sense bases, 18 elements, 4 noble truths, 5 sense faculties, and above all, paticca samuppada, dependent origination. He is also called the Blessed One because he is a partaker of the 10 powers of a Tathagata. What are the 10? The Buddha understands as it actually is, the possible as possible, the impossible as impossible. Number 2, the Buddha, the Tathagata, understand as it actually is, the results of action undertaken, past, future, and present, with possibilities and with causes. Number 3, the Tathagata understands as it actually is, the ways leading to all destinations. The Tathagata understands it actually is, the world with its many and different elements. How beings have different inclinations, disposition of the faculties of other beings, other persons, defilement, cleansing, and the emergence in regard to the jhanas, liberations, concentrations, and attainment. The Tathagata recollects his past life, many births of his past life. 9, with the divine eye, purified and surpasses the human, the Buddha can see beings passing away and reappearing. Passing away and reappearing. He can see karma and the results of karma. And lastly, with direct knowledge, the Buddha here and now enters and abides in the deliverance of mind and deliverance by wisdom, the attainers with the destruction of the taints. This is found in Majjhima Nikaya 12. We also address the Buddha as the Blessed One because he possessed 6 mundane dhammas. First, lordship. The Buddha has unsurpassed lordship over his mind. He has complete control over his mind. Doctrine. The Buddha new, the 9 supramundane dhammas. What are they? The 4, Magga, Pala, Magga and Pala. So 8 plus Nibbana, 9. Fame, the fame of the Buddha is spread throughout the 31 planes of existence. Glory, the Buddha has glory in physical form, perfect in all limbs. You can refer to the Lakkhana Sutta, the 32 marks of a great man. And wish, when helping others to abstain from evil, to do good, and to purify the mind for one's own benefit and for the benefit of others, the Buddha successfully accomplished his task. Effort, the Buddha never felt weary or tired of guiding others to enlightenment. From the first discourse until his last moment, passing into Parinibbana, he still gave advice to his disciples. Vaya Dhamma Sankara, Apabadena Sabadeta, all conditioned phenomena are subject to decay. Strive on with heedfulness. Dika Nikaya 16. Next, Sumitra. Stanza 11, the last one.
Disamano pitawasa rupakayo achintiyo asadarananyadane Dhamma Pāli katawakati.
So disati means appears or it seems. Mana is mind, takes the form of. Disamana, visible. Api is an, even. Tavasa is in itself. Rupa is form. Kaya is body or collection. Achintiyo, impossible to visualize. So disamanopi tavasa rupakayo achintiyo. The physical form, rupakayo or rupakaya of the Buddha, which is visible in itself, is inconceivable. Next. Sadharana, common or general. Asadharana, common or unique. Jnana, wisdom. Dhamma, doctrine. Dhammakaya, doctrinal body. Katawaka means what more, how much more. Asadharana Yanade, unique wisdom. T is the end of full stop. Asadharana Yanade, Dhammakaya Katawakati. How much more inconceivable it is Dhammakaya, doctrinal body of unique wisdom. Now here, we have already finished the 9 attributes of the Buddha. This last stanza talks about the Rupakaya and the Dhammakaya. Now, in the Mahayana Buddhism, we have Trikaya, 3 bodies of the Buddha. The Dhammakaya refers to the supreme state of absolute knowledge or the body of essence, meaning that the teachings of the Buddha, the body of the collection of the teachings of the Buddha. That is Dhammakaya. Then we have Sambhogaya, Sambhogakaya. Sambhogaya is the body of enjoyment, the heavenly mode. So the Buddha is being depicted like a god, okay, enjoying the like heaven god, like that. There's Sambhogakaya, the body of enjoyment, the heavenly mode. Lamanakaya is the body of transformation. That means the earthly mode of the Buddha as he appeared on earth. Okay? Right? The earthly mode of the Buddha as the Buddha appeared on earth. That is the Trikaya by Mahayana Buddhism. But in Theravada Buddhism, we only talk about Rupakaya and Dhammakaya as mentioned in this stanza. Okay, Rupakaya means the physical body of the Buddha, the Buddha physical body. Okay, so the Buddha physical body is inconceivable. Okay, for details, you can read up the Lakkhana Sutta, the 32 characteristics of the Buddha. The Dhammakaya is the body of enlightenment, the body of enlightened qualities of the Buddha. is the absolute body, the embodiment of truth. Okay, it's a collection of body of all the Buddha's good qualities or dhammas, such as the Buddha's wisdom, the Buddha's compassion, his fortitude, his patience, and so on. So it's a figurative term, meaning the body of the sum of the bodies of the Buddha's teachings. Okay, so that is referring to the Rupa Kayo and Dhamma Kayo. What it means here is the Buddha is supreme, above in all, whether physically or in the absolute truth. In his lifetime, the Buddha searched for the truth, realized the truth, and expanded the truth. We may recollect the Buddha's boundless compassion towards all beings, his relentless endeavor guiding himself and others across the oceans of rebirth, his perfect equanimity towards praise and blame, his patience and forgiveness towards misguided people, his restraint of body, speech, and mind through mindfulness, and his freedom from defilements through wisdom, deliverance. When we recollect the virtues of the Buddha, we are inspired to do good. We will become more patient, more tolerant, more mindful of our body, speech, and mind. Conscious and moral fear will always be with us. We are eager to improve ourselves to become better. Using the flawless, perfect virtues of the Buddha as our guide can lend an invisible strength on the path of purification. He urges us to be heedful and not to be heedless. A shoulder to rely on. When the Buddha's virtues arouse our faith through frequent and devoted contemplation, they can protect us and keep us from danger. The Buddha said, if there's anyone who frequently recollects the Buddha's virtues and has unshakable faith in the Buddha, he can avoid evil and danger and be protected. Last but not least, how to practice Buddhanusati, recollection of the Buddha. In this practice, one recollect one or more virtues of the Buddha. Therefore, it's necessary to learn the 9 virtues of the Buddha with all the meanings in a systematic way. Verbal recitation, we will sit straight, preferably in front of an altar where the Buddha's serene statue is placed. One begins with the verbal recitation as Itipiso Bhagawa Arahan. Okay? And then we recite these Buddha's virtues in Pali, understanding the 9 virtues of the Buddha. Okay? And by the verbal recitation will help us to stop our monkey mind so that our mind stays with the object. And the object is the quality, the 9 attributes of the Buddha. Then first we recite verbally, and then we recite mentally, okay, the 9 attributes, and then slowly we drop some of the virtues, and we focus only on one at one time. Okay, you may say Arahan, Arahang, Arahan, or we say Buddho, Buddho, but we will have to understand the meaning. Okay, and then once we attain access concentration, okay, we were able to overcome the 5 hindrances of sensual desire, evil, restlessness, and remorse, sloth and torpor, and doubt, and the mind firmly established on the virtue of the Buddha. Thank you, Sadhu, and we will try it out with the clip, with a short clip by Sahale Susila.
The guided meditation on Buddhanusati, recollecting Buddha's virtues. Please sit in the proper sitting posture. Please look at this picture. Try to memorize this for at least 1 minute. So spend 1 minute, look at this picture, try to memorize it and keep it in mind. This is very important stage. So while memorize this picture, you can say while observing or looking at this picture and try to memorize this. You also can mentally say Arahang, 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 and try to increase your respect to the Buddha by seeing his serene deportment. We try to memorize this Buddha's image in order to visualize it as time goes. Arahang, mentally say Arahang, Arahang. You can close your eyes now and keep that image in your mind. And I will recite 9 attributes in Pali 1 time. You listen the 9 attributes, the quality of the Buddha, respectfully. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vichacharana sampano sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhammasarati sattha dewa manusanang buddho bhagavati. Now we will reflect or recollect the Buddha's first virtue, Arahang. Arahang means destroy of all defilements. When the defilements are completely uprooted, the mind becomes released, totally at peace. So try to visualize the Buddha image with the idea totally at peace. You can mentally say Buddha is totally at peace. At the same time, visualize his image that just now you memorized. Try to feel the peace of the Buddha. Mentally, you can also say Arahang, Arahang, Arahang. At the same time, try to feel the peace of the Buddha. try to visualize how peace Buddha was. Mentally, you can say Arahang, Arahang. At the same time, visualize Buddha is in completely, totally peace. Once you can feel the peace of the Buddha, your mind should be settled down. On the virtues of the Buddha. Buddha is Arahang. Arahang, mentally say Arahang, Arahang. At the same time, visualize the Buddha's image by feeling his peace. And Arahang is also harmless because he had destroyed all the defilement. He became harmless. So you can imagine or visualize Buddha is harmless. He will never harm anyone, any beings. So by mentally say Arahang, Arahang, you reflect his harmlessness. They will increase your faith in Buddha's quality. So sometimes mentally you say Arahang, Arahang by recollecting Buddha's peace and harmlessness. Once a while, you have to visualize Buddha's image. By visualizing Buddha's image, the happiness, joy will arise in you. Another meaning of Arahant is worthy of respect by all men and gods, because Buddha had destroyed all the defilements. Therefore, he was worshipped by all men, by all gods. Some human beings worship gods, but gods still have to worship Buddha. So mentally you say Arahant, Arahant, worthy by all men and gods. And at the same time, or once a while, you have to visualize Buddha's image. Buddha is worthy of respect by all men and gods. Once you understand the meaning of Arahant, you can stop thinking, just contemplate on Arahant, Arahant. Mentally say Arahant, Arahant. And once a while, visualize the Buddha's image. In this way, you will have less thinking and less thought. Now, I shall move to second quality, the second virtues of Buddha, which is Samma Sambuddho. Samma Sambuddho. Mentally, please say Samma Sambuddho. Samma Sambuddho. At the same time, visualize Buddha's image. Then you should reflect the meaning of Samma Sambuddho. Samma Sambuddho means rightly attained awakening by himself without guidance of anyone. So Buddha attained Buddhahood rightly by himself without any help from others. This is called Samma Sambuddho. by his own faith, confidence, persistent effort, mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom, Buddha attained awakening by himself without any help. So, as you keep reflecting this quality, the faith will arise in you towards Buddha. We ourselves, with the help of teacher, with the help of Dhamma, still cannot attain our goal. But the Buddha, by his own faith, effort, and wisdom, realized incomparable Buddhahood. Mentally say Samma Sambuddho, and reflecting the meaning of Samma Sambuddho, your faith and respect towards the Buddha should increase. Mentally say Samma Sambuddho. At the same time, visualize Buddha's image. The arising of Samma Sambuddho is extraordinary. Because with the arising of Samma Sambuddho, we can learn the Dhamma. Only Samma Sambuddho can preach the Dhamma well, and we can learn the Dhamma. So we bear deep gratitude towards Samma Sambuddho. The arising of Samma Sambuddho is for the welfare and benefit for all sentient beings. You can reflect his compassion to become Samma Sambuddho with the aim to help all sentient beings. Try to feel the compassion of a Samma Sambuddho. And try to arouse your gratitude towards the Buddha towards the Samma Sambuddha. The gratitude that aroused will soften your mind. Mentally say Samma Sambuddho, Samma Sambuddho, and once a while visualize Buddha's image. Okay, time's up.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, brothers and sisters, sorry we are a bit late tonight. We exceeded 15 minutes. So we have finished Buddhanusati. 2 weeks' time, we will start with Metta Bhavana. Any questions you'd like to ask, you can put it onto the WhatsApp, and I will try to answer through the WhatsApp. Okay, good night, everyone.